Whenever you hear about what it takes to start VTubing, it's always about the high cost. That it costs for a custom quality model, $300 for the low tier, $500 for the mid tier, and $1,000 or more for a high tier. And that's just for the art. And if you want the animations done as well with the same quality, it will cost you exactly the same for that as well, if not more sometimes, making VTubing seem like it's incredibly costly. But what if I told you that if you wanted to get started today and have your own custom quality model, it wouldn't cost you a thing?
Hello everyone, it's your mad friend Darius here. Now I create and animate live 2D models, so I know a bit about this stuff, and I was so intimidated before I started. It seemed like it was so expensive. The only way to get a model would be to pay someone for it. I thought about making my own model and stuff too, but I mean, surely the programs required to create and animate the model must be so expensive. But the truth of the matter is, it's not expensive. If you want a quality V2 model, I'm not talking about buying a cheap one or getting a free one downloaded or even going down the route of a PNG tuber. We're talking quality animated live 2D model. How cheap can it be to start becoming a quality VTuber? We're going to go over the creation of the model, the animation, then the tracking, and finally even content creation. What are the cheapest ways to get started as a VTuber, or at least take your chances and try? What does it even require? What if a webcam isn't even needed? That's what we're talking about today, people, and we're getting right into it, so let's get started. So first off, creating the model, the art, creating it, everything else, and the need of skill and everything else. Everyone probably thinks it requires some sort of really powerful art program, that you're going to be using something like Photoshop and having to have an expensive version of it to work it and stuff like that, but you don't. I remember back in the day how expensive Photoshop has been and stuff, and I don't even know what the price for it is today. That terrifies me. But I would say the best option here is actually completely free, and that is Krita. Now, you might have seen Krita on Steam and it costs money, but that's more of a supporter package. On their main website, you can get it for free. It is a kind of community-made program, and it is amazing. It's like an easier Photoshop for me, and I love Krita. I started using Krita when I started VTubing, and I've made all my VTube models for it. Everything you see in front of you is made in Krita. It is a great, great program, and I cannot stop just suggesting it for people. It is incredible, it is free, and it gives you so many options and stuff to work with. Now, creating the model might be a bit intimidating for some people. You might say, I don't have any talent or skill. I can't draw a person or something. Don't worry. Creating a VTube model is actually quite a simple process. You're actually creating a collage of parts. The eyes are separate, the eyeball is separate, everything's created in parts and then assembled, kind of like a Mr. Potato Head. And so if you're intimidated by that, it's a part-by-part process, and if you guys are still intimidated, I myself do not have any skill or talent when it comes to art, but I've created everything before you without much difficulty, honestly. I take a lot longer than an artist, so I do not consider myself an artist because it takes me forever to get to anything that I consider even remotely any bit of quality. And if you guys are curious on how to create a VTube model or art in general even, without any skill or talent, just leave a comment. I will create a tutorial on that to help you guys get started on simple, easy cheats and hacks and easy ways to start making your VTube model without any skill and talent and no problem whatsoever. So next up is animating the model. What's the cheapest way to do that? Well, it's honestly the premium way. Live 2D Cubism. Now there's a few programs that are similar to it, but they don't work quite as well as Live 2D. Live 2D does cost money for the month, and it does have a yearly subscription, makes it cheaper. But let's say you don't have any money. What should you do then? Live 2D still, because it has a free version. The model you're looking at right now was made in the free version with all the limitations. Also, those limitations help teach you to be a better animator and what you need to put together, what you need to cut out of the model, what you need to do here and there. The limitations are much more helpful for a beginning animator. The only difficulties is learning the basics and the terminology and what you're actually doing with the live 2D model. But once you have an understanding of it all, it is so much easier. I love animation. I'm really quick at it. I do not do well with the art, but it's needed for the animation and stuff. Now, let's say you make yourself a free model and you kind of want to push a little further without even spending a single cent, right? Guess what? Live 2D Cubism also has a free trial with it, and it's for over a month. So you have plenty of time to finish up your model and top off. And if you want to push it further one day, you can just go for the subscriptions or something whenever you want to. So for the free version, you can actually create a complete premium model, because that trial can be done at any time, and the free version is still quite useful. So if you want to do premium animation, you go the premium route. You don't even have to pay a dang thing to get your model ready. So let's talk about tracking your model. The tracking program and the tracking hardware. Those are the two parts we're going to talk about. So we're going to start with the software first for another reason, because there's a lot to talk about with the hardware, and that goes back into the software. But let's just get started. So the best thing to use is VTube Studio for your tracking. Now this does cost money, but if you don't pay and you go with kind of the free stuff, all you have to deal with is a watermark. It's a little fairy that's there in your screen, and that's it. So you technically don't have to pay anything. You just have to deal with having a watermark. And a lot of people aren't going to care that much, especially when you're starting out and getting ready and everything else. And you can move up to paying for anything with VTube Studio to remove the watermark. And that's the program you should probably use. There's probably some free options out there, but you know, this premium stuff works so good that they kind of knock out the free stuff out of the water and push them to the side, and probably gets updated a lot better. Now, as far as tracking hardware, the better the webcam, the better the tracking. This is going to be following your facial movements that it can then use as controllers. So like, instead of pressing a button, turning your head to the left can be set to turn your model to the left and stuff like that, at the right, etc. You know how it goes. But what if you don't have any money and you don't have a good webcam, or you don't have a webcam? How can you have your model look more alive? Well, you can set up some animations to automatically happen. You can make it blink automatically. You can have it move a little bit and occasionally have other movements pop in. You don't have to have it tracking you to move. You can animate that ahead of time. You can also set it so that the mouse itself kind of moves your model around for you, and use that as part of it. Now, you can see like my mouth has a lot of facial movements. The traditional way for a VTube model would be only for the mouth to have whether the mouth is open and whether or not you're smiling and frowning, to kind of like depict on where the mouth moves. And you might want a more realistic mouth, but you don't have a webcam. What do you do? What do you do? Well, the option is to use the more, well, vocal-based animation style. So there's a way that you can, in like VTube Studio, set it so that the voice itself, your vowels and everything else, determine what part of your mouth opens, how it works and stuff. You can set those shapes based on the vowels you say, and that can create a more realistic look for you. So let's say you don't have a web camera to look at your mouth, you can actually have it based on your voice. So without a web camera, you can basically just move your body around with a mouse, or just have it pre-animated and have the mouth open based on the words that you're saying. So no, you don't even need a web camera to be a VTuber. Now, if you don't have a microphone, you could also technically do it with text-to-speech, and I'm sure there's probably a way to make that work. That's just theoretical. But let's go even higher. The super premium. If you have an iPhone 11 or more, you have access to something in that phone called the ARKit kit. Or ARKit, I don't know what it is. It's something called ARKit. So ARKit is like premium face tracking technology, and that's only in the iPhones for the iPhone 11 and higher. But let's say you have that phone. You can download the VTube Studio software and use that to record yourself. Now, it does cost money to be able to record for longer and everything else in there, and having no problem with it, and I paid money for it. It's a one-time fee. But let's say you have no money. Can you still use the program? Yes, you can, because you're limited to 10 minutes or less without it. So if you are making content where you have like segments that are 10 minutes or less, you can still use the iPhone for that, and that will resolve that issue for you. So you could technically use VTube Studio with an iPhone for a web camera and have the top of the line recording. And then also save your money and spit out something like VBridger so it actually records better mouth and everything. There's a lot of routes you can go with this stuff, people. You can spend a little bit of money to go a long way with VTubing, but you do not have to spend anything for some of the premium, top-of-the-line stuff. So even when it comes to tracking, there's all these free options, and while there might be a few deficits to consider, resolving them costs very little money. And you can still have access to some of the top premium stuff if you know what you're doing. And it only costs a little bit to get rid of them. But if you're going with no money whatsoever, you can still have premium top of the line stuff if you just think about outside the box when working with your model. And finally, content creation, aka video editing. Now, unless you're thinking somehow that you're going to do nothing but streaming, you're probably going to need some video editing tools. In fact, even if you are a streamer, you will need some video editing. You need some way to put your videos out there, your streams out there that people can see with all the bells and whistles that will attract new fans to watch you stream. Because when you're an unknown, no one's going to know, no matter how good and high quality you are. You need something to attract them, and that's videos. So what is the best out there? You're probably thinking things like, oh, it costs so much money to have a good video editing tool. What's a okay free one? Well, we're not going okay, people. We're using a contradiction here. One of the most expensive video editing tools has a free version, DaVinci Resolve. This program is made for Hollywood level video editing. So the paid for version has more of like super Hollywood grade filters and effects and stuff that you would never normally ever even consider touching. So the free version has all the basic stuff, which makes you just fully capable of making great videos. I mean, all the cuts, the edits, the productions and stuff, it's great. It's free and it's amazing. In fact, a lot of the additions that you might not know about are actually made if you have like Hollywood level cameras or hardware in your computer for this video editing stuff, which is only used if you're making super duper professional Hollywood level stuff. And I do mean that when I say that. This stuff is made for Hollywood production. So the free version is a super video editing tool, and it's amazing they actually have this for free because it's going to get all the updates and the great stuff and all the new features that you would never see in the more paid for programs that after a year or so you're now behind. But with DaVinci Resolve, you have a paid for program for free, and so it's going to get all the updates and everything's going to go great. It's just like everything else. I really advise you on using this program. It's amazing. So at this point too, with content creation, is also the premium options the best option. And that's pretty incredible. So if you use DaVinci Resolve, your videos will start looking great. So consider that when you're thinking about content creation and getting your videos as a VTuber. All right, everyone. So we covered what it would take to basically start up being a VTuber. You create your own model, you animate it, or you get some friend to help you out. I did it for someone. But I mean, you kind of just get all this stuff and you realize that the programs to just start basic are, well, free. We have a free art program that I feel is better than the paid ones. We have the actual premium animation software with a free version, and you can even get a month plus for doing it for full premium stuff with it too to finish up your model. So your model can be the highest quality out there without any cost. And then as far as tracking, you might have to pay a little bit if you want to go super like premium look without like the watermark and everything else, but that itself is only a few dollars, and you can still look very premium with a watermark there. If you look good enough, no one's going to bother until you get enough money to pay for it, and well, your lunch money will cover it. So let's just say you do pay for it. It'd be like $10 or something like that to get that going. And as far as your web camera, You can use a $20 web camera and still look perfectly fine. But if you had your own, like, if you have a phone, like a phone plan, because everyone has a phone these days, right? And it's an iPhone, you can use VTube Studio and just, do under 10-minute clips and then put them together using DaVinci Resolve. And thus now you have a super premium model without a watermark that you paid $5 to $10 for and stuff. And plus the webcam or tracking, if you use your phone instead, that's out of the whole issue. And let's say you don't have a web camera and you just set up everything in VTube Studio to look great using your voice and stuff. There's so many options, everyone. So to have a premium model, we're looking at, well, $30 tops if you're looking at the low end of things. And you don't have to have anything if you use watermarks. So honestly, I would say to start off VTubing, $0 to $30 is an accurate thing to have a quality model. Now, a few things on the end here just to talk about, because, well, VTubing is more than that. There's nuances, there's other things. You have 3D VTubers and stuff, and, well, I'm not an expert in that field, but I hear there's a lot of tracking requirements and gear that can really make that stand out, and that can be difficult and stuff. So that can cost a lot of money. And then you have PNG VTubers. Why would you do that? Live 2D options are here. Make a PNG VTuber in Live 2D. You can give it more options, more effects, and still have it do the same thing without any issue. So, I mean, it's the better option, guys, right? So if you're looking for quality, look no further than Live 2D. There's ways to try it out at the very least. And if you guys would like help, if you want to learn how to make a Live 2D model with less effort, with no skill, no talent, no art ability, leave a comment. Tell me that you would like me to make a video on that. And I will get started on that for next week or the week after, because I'd like to put a little more work into it, on teaching you guys how to do this kind of stuff. It's very easy and very simple, and it's not a lot of difficulty to that. And when it comes to animating, it is incredibly difficult to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, etc. So the first model is so difficult, and after that it becomes a lot easier to animate. Animation is incredibly fun to do, and it takes a completely different mindset than the art. So it can be intimidating, but if you're not that great at art, like me, you might be better at animation and find that to be your calling. And then, of course, the tracking and the video editing are also other skills. You got to work with your model, get it set up, make it look right that way, and then finally make your videos look good and find little cool tricks and techniques to keep it a little less boring and interesting. There's a lot to it. And if you are concerned or intimidated by anything, leave a comment and ask me to create some tutorials or videos on that. I will be happy to help you on your road to becoming a VTuber. So if you're feeling scared, I'm here for you guys. All right? So that's really all I had to talk about on doing this as cheaply as possible. I was so intimidated for years before starting VTubing on this just being a fantastical aspect until someone started and told me, no, it's actually kind of cheap to start. I spent most of my money on things like a new microphone. I'm about to spend a lot more money on a new computer. So I'm trying to improve my stuff this way. But for the model itself, if you do it yourself, it is super cheap, people. So keep on trying and keep on VTubing. But as always, everyone else, that's enough time for today. Just leave a comment you want something else, and I'll see you next time.